Welcome. I'm Professor Michael Czinkota of Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. And here we have another session on international business, marketing, and strategy. Today we are joined by Mr. Henry Autler of Atlanta, Georgia, who is the CEO and president of Acme Corporation, and also on the board of directors of various international firms. Our topic today is the trials and tribulations of an importer. We always talk about exports and foreign direct investment, but today the topic is imports. So welcome, Mr. Autler.
Well, thank you very much for having me here at Georgetown.
Tell us a little bit about what your company does, particularly with the international aspects.
Well, our international aspects is we deal with commodity packaging products. And we feel that bringing products in from overseas gives us a competitive edge in the marketplace here in the United States. And we originally got into this line of business through our main business line, which is custom packaging. We were looking for manufacturers to make designs that we came up with ourselves. And it was easier to find manufacturers overseas to make our products for us than it was for us to have domestic manufacturers, because they're geared for larger production runs. So through that, we ended up importing their commodity line of business as well.
Now, I understand you're making things like egg cartons or shells, plastic shells for the safekeeping of food. But explain that to me in terms of comparative advantage. You're saying overseas they're doing smaller production runs?
Overseas, because of the lower cost of labor and also because of the smaller populations, their manufacturing plants, for instance, one of the major companies they do business with is a company located in the Dominican Republic. Well, the Dominican Republic doesn't have the population of the United States. It's a third world nation, basically, third world business setup. So their plants have to be smaller. They're geared for smaller production runs. They're not geared for these high volume runs that you have to do for the United States. They also have the labor that they can throw at it because of the lower costs to do the changeovers. So it was just a natural, progression to get into business with these people.
So the key reasons are lower cost and greater flexibility in manufacturing.
Exactly.
So you must be laughing all the way to the bank. This must be always more and more profitability.
Well, it was in the beginning. Right now, with the economic times that we're in, it has, because the American manufacturers have now buckled down. But we were extremely competitive in the marketplace here in the States. We were able to do custom runs, do smaller production runs, offer it to people that couldn't get it because of the volume commitments were too high. What's happening right now in the marketplaces is that, in the commodity packaging, the American manufacturers are desperate for volume. So they have now reduced their profit levels down to almost nil. So it's become a very competitive marketplace again.
So is importing more efficient, more profitable? Is it easier than doing business domestically?
Well, we could bring in discussion about 9/11 as well.
Please do.
Yeah, it was just as easy to import from overseas into the United States and get into to entertain foreign manufacturers to get their products into the States. What I'm getting after is that 9/11 changed everything.
How did it affect you?
Well, the security measures that we have now installed to get for security reasons have added about 10% shipping costs.
So that has reduced your competitiveness.
Oh yeah, it's reduced our competitiveness. Yeah.
And what are you doing about it? Are you sourcing more from the U.S. now? Have you shifted business?
Well, we found that really what we need to do is get better in our logistics. We have to really understand what we can do to get the product delivered in the States better by using the rail system. here in America. We have been able to carve back some of that extra cost that we're paying for the security now.
Now, with all the financial troubles and turmoil around the world, has that affected you in any way, let's say in terms of deposits you have to pay, in terms of interest rates? Has there been any effect?
Oh yeah, I mean, it had a major effect on us. We were importing product from China. We were doing aluminum from out of China, and when the economic collapse came, we had 9 containers floating over here, each one of them worth about $90,000. So in theory, you know, you have $860,000 floating on water, and the economic collapse comes and you lose 20% of your value. Now, the product's all pre-sold, so it's a loss that our customers experience. Well, what happened was a lot of the Chinese manufacturers had a lot of turmoil with their customers, not just mine. And what happened was is that China reinstated all new credit terms because they didn't want to get stuck like that ever again. They didn't want to be in that position. So China came out with immediately following is that they pretty much wanted you to prepay everything 100% up front. Well, that put a lot of people, back to domestic suppliers.
Now, what excuse did your customers use to try to get out of the contracts?
Oh, oh, you're very wise. Usually they used every excuse except for the devaluation of the world economy. They used quality excuses mostly to try to get out of the contracts, but everything was so well written and documented, it was very hard for them to back out of it. You know, they all had their arguments, but none of them got out of it.
Now tell me, you realize, of course, that the U.S. has a large trade deficit, which puts our U.S. economy at risk. With you being an importer, does that keep you awake at night? Do you feel bad?
I do feel bad about it, but I'm not the one that created that atmosphere. I mean, it was other generations before us have started that international business line to get us to this point, and we're here for a reason. We want to open up those markets. We want to buy from those people. We want to support those countries. You can't export to somebody if you're not importing from them.
But like when China joined the World Trade Organization, they imported more from the U.S., but their exports to the U.S. jumped a multiple.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's a tenfold difference, and that's a problem. We need to export more back to China.
Your advice to our students at Georgetown in terms of future career opportunities, are they in exporting, importing, direct investment, or just staying plain at home?
Well, my advice to anybody who's getting into the business world right now is that you really got to evaluate where is the next 30 years going to be in this import-export world. Happens to be where my business timeline is that it was more in importing. I believe that the next wave will be going back the other way.
So exporting is it for the future?
I believe that if I was coming out of college right now, that's where I'd be looking at.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Autler, Chairman and CEO of Acme Corporation in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Professor Michael Czinkota of the Hariri School. Thank you for joining us.